Hi guys, welcome back to Bunny Brook Designs. So I'm going to really quickly show you something. Little Miss Velvet is in her little castle there. As soon as I set up the phone to start recording, she jumped in up on her castle. I'm going to pause you guys real quick so I can go give her a treat. I will be right back. All right guys, sorry about that. She's just too cute not to give cookies to, and I'm sure you saw the mess that's on my workstation. I've been doing a lot of stuff. So today we're going to be using the peanut beads from the curated bead box, my summer garden. I'm going to use these, and I'm bringing in some purple beads from my stash. So I was playing with a sample, and I'll show you what we're going to be doing. We're going to be beading something that looks kind of like this, but we're going to be doing it in a bracelet. So I'm going to start out by doing a brick stitch, and I've got my beads up here. I've counted out how many I need to do the correct size of my bracelet, or close to the correct size. So I'm just going to start by picking up 2 of these beads, and I'm going to go through one. I'm going to go through the other, and I'm going to slide them down. I've got a, decent length. I don't know if I have enough on this. It is, crap, what is this? It is beading thread, but it's the, let me do that for a second. I'll tell you. It is the wildfire. It's wildfire, and so I was trying to use up the last of a spool. All right, so what I did, and I'll actually take this off so I can show you guys again. So I just left a little bit of a tail, and you can probably leave a little bit longer of a tail. We're going to be going through these beads many times, so we're going to be able to put an end on it. So I'm just going to go through these and pull tight. So we're going to be forming this in 2 sections and then combining the 2 sections together with the purple beads. So I just went back up through in the same direction through my first bead on there to create this little thing. I'm going to go back through the second bead away from my tail, just so that it's a little sturdier. And then you can either tie a knot here like I'm doing, or you could, wait until later and tie a knot. I'm just going to tie a knot just so I don't have to worry about it. And then I am going to go back through the first bead, just because now that I've tied a knot, I want to pull. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to pull that. If I can get it over there, there we go. We're going to try to pull that knot through into so the knot is now inside this bead. Now you don't have to do that right away, but I like to do it, get it out of the way. And you could really cut that end off, but I'm going to wait. So I'm going to pick up another bead, and the thread's coming out the top. I'm going to stick the needle from the bottom to the top, and see that knot. I'm pulling the knot out because that knot's in the way. You're going to need to pass through these multiple times, so make sure your knot's not going to hinder you. And I've got a bunny biting at my legs right now, just because she wants more cookies. Here, baby. Every time I get on the camera. So now we've gone through. I'm going to go back through that bead that I just added just to tighten it up. And I'm going to continue working like this until I have all of my beads picked up. So I'm coming out the bottom. I'm going to go down through the top. And don't worry about reinforcing at this point. I know a lot of people like to reinforce at first, but honestly, we're going to be doing reinforcing when we put these together. So you do need to have space. So I'm just going to continue on. I'm going to pause this when I get to, woo. So I'm going to pause it, and then I'm going to get to the end and show you the first part, and then we will continue on. Okay guys, so I finished up the first one, and I had about a wingspan on this one and barely had enough thread to finish. I did not knot this. We will knot that as we're putting the second one together. So the second one, I have my beads here off to the side. I counted my beads out. And I took about 2 wingspans of thread because we're going to use this not only to make the second one, but to connect everything together. So again, I'm going to start out the same way. I'm going to take one. I'm going to take a second one of my peanut beads. And I have noticed that some of these have ends that you can't get through. So just be careful. Make sure you can go through them. We're going to be passing through them multiple times. So I'm going to go all the way down. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail on this one. I'm going to go back up through. Same as before. Come back down through. And I'm just going to move the camera here just a little. And then I'm going to tie a knot. So just tying just a simple knot, and we will take care of these ends when we're done. I'm going to pass back through a bead. Now that we've tied the knot, and continue picking up beads until I have my brick stitch bracelet the same length as the other one. So I'm just going to continue pulling, trying to get my thread not to be tangled here. 2 wingspans, it's a lot. Now, you don't have to do 2 wingspans. You could do 1 wingspan and then add a third thread, but I just figured, you know what, I might as well do it in one pass. So, all right, I'm going to do one more with you. So I'm going to add a bead, and I'm coming out the bottom. So I'm going to go into the top in the same direction. Pull those beads tight next to each other, go back up through, so I'm coming out the last bead. And then continue on. So I'm going to finish this so that it matches this one, and then I will show you how we put these on and how we're going to finish this, because I don't like having the threads being able to be seen, so we're going to add some seed beads. And I'm thinking, because it's, you know, gold findings on this month's box, we're going to use gold 11-ohs. So I'm going to finish this, and I will meet you back. Okay guys, so I've got my beads all done up. I've got my 2 sections. I'm going to push the tray out of the way for a little bit. So now we're going to be adding in our purple beads. So I'm going to take a few out, set them on my board, just because I think it's easier to grab them. And so I'm coming out, it doesn't matter what side you're coming out, as long as you're coming out an end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out, I'm going to pick up one of my purple beads. These are 4mm, 3mm, they're, oh boy, 3mm? Hang on, I'll tell you in a second. They are 4mm. So they're 4mm, and I'm just going to go so I'm coming out of this first one here. I'm going to go up through the first one here. Now the beauty of this is this thread is coming out this side, and so we can tie a knot on this if we want to. I'm going to just tie that just to get it so it's done. Now, because I tied that knot, I'm not going to be doing my border yet. So now I'm going to go back through the second bead on that top one. I'm going to pick up another purple, and I'm going to go back through the second bead in the bottom. Now this is why I said don't worry about reinforcing, because we're going to be adding a lot of thread here and reinforcing. Now I'm going to go back up through the third one, and if you wanted to, you could hold the beads on the needle like this and pass through both of them at the same time. If it's easier for you to keep hold of it. And now I'm just going to continue on. So I'm going to turn my work, pick up another bead, pass through the next one. And so we're going to continue on with this. Now I'm going to continue on adding in the beads, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to do the outside edge. So I'm going to pause you and I will be back in a minute. Okay guys, so I'm up to the end. I've taken off my needle real quick just because I want to take and get rid of these ends here. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to put a drop of super glue, probably on my knots, just because I don't have a lot of knots here. So I'm going to thread my needle. If I can see the thread. I'm going to take this off camera under a little magnifying glass to thread it. There we go. All right, and I'm going to just take this, and so we're not super tight on that, but I'm going to pass this through probably one of these purple beads and see if maybe I can tie a knot here on the thread and then pass through the yellow bead. And I know it looks like it's starting to come apart, and that's fine. Because we can just tighten it up again by pulling on the working thread. And I'm going to just cut this off. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this other tail, just because I want to get rid of my tails. I don't want them in my way. Sorry about being off camera, guys. Again, magnifying glass. I'm using a size 12 beading needle, and it's, you can't even see the hole in that, or I can't even see the hole in that. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go down through a bead, find a spot on the threads to tie a knot. Oops, that didn't tie. Try that again. And just, oops, I lost my needle. There we go. Yes, yes. And then come back through any one of these beads. I think that one's kind of full. And I'm just going to warn you, be very careful, because these, the beads are going to be getting pretty full in the next few steps. All right, I may put some glue on that. This one, I don't even have enough thread, I think, to get that through, but maybe. And just cut that off. And we'll put some super glue on the ends. All right, so now I'm going to thread back on my working thread. I don't know if I'm going to have enough working thread. You may need to take an additional wingspan of thread to do this next part, just because this is all I've got, like literally, you know, not that much. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 gold seed beads, and we're going to go in to the spot, and I'm debating whether I want to put something here too, or if I want to just pass through everything and just do my weaving. All right, so now we've covered those threads. I'm going to pick up 3 more. So we're going to be weaving back and forth. So, you know, you can do this if you want. This step's optional. I just thought it would look weird if I had gold seed beads to make my ends and didn't have gold seed beads somewhere in the design. So we're going to line this back and forth with gold seed beads. Now you're probably going to want to add some more thread. So I am just going to continue on down. And because my holes are getting kind of full, we may just pass the next sets through the seed beads. Because again, this is just embellishment. We've already strung everything, gotten it all nice and tight. We just now need to do our embellishments. And also doing these embellishments is also going to help us reinforce quite nicely. So this is why I told you not to worry about reinforcing to begin with, is because we are going to be reinforcing by going through these multiple times. And so that looks good on the side. You don't see the threads except for where we haven't passed seed beads. So we're going to continue on. And so now if you are probably going to be like me and have to add additional thread, just because I don't like taking 3 or 4 wingspans worth of thread to work with, because it always knots on me. 2 wingspans is about my max. If you have to add additional thread and tie off, try to tie off where you're going to be hiding it under seed beads. That seed bead's sticking, so we're not going to use him. Again, always try to hide your, your thread if you can. I think this is looking really nice. I can't wait to see this finished. Like I said, I played with a little sample just to see what it would look like with the beads, and then figured on gold accent. Oops, there's only 2 on that. Also, too, when you're working with the peanut beads, just to show you, I did have a couple that were misshaped or smaller. You want to make sure you get uniform size seed beads for this, because otherwise, or not seed beads, but the peanut beads, because otherwise it's going to look really weird if you have one that's like really short. So this is looking nice. We'll have to figure out which is the front and which is the back. And now, optionally, you could have done the seed beads as you were doing your weaving. But, again, you don't necessarily have to do the seed beads. And I'm going to run out of thread here, so I'm probably going to have to add more. See how far we can get. The other thing is when you're working with thread, I know it's tempting to be like, oh, I'm going to work it down till I have just this much left on the needle. Leave yourself space to tie some knots and to weave in. You know, don't push it. Believe me, I've done that many, many times and then regretted it because I couldn't tie a proper knot, couldn't weave in the ends. All right, I think that's all we're going to get. I am going to tie a knot right here on this thread bridge. And then I'm going to pass my needle back down through, which is getting stiff. And I'm going to tie another knot on this thin thread bridge here. And then pass through and cut off. All right, so now to add on and tie on, I'm going to take, because I'm not sure how much we're going to need, I'm going to take another wingspan, maybe 2 wingspans. Probably not going to need that much, but I'm going to take it anyway. I'm going to thread my needle, and then I'm going to show you how to tie on. Just got to thread my needle, guys. All right, so I've got my thread back on. So now to tie on, I'm going to go under a thread bridge before where I ended. And I am just going to tie a knot. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail because I'm going to end up having to weave this in. So I'm going to leave myself a good 6-inch tail just to be able to weave in. And I'm going to tie a second knot. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the 3 seed beads that, if I can get in there, there we go. So I'm going through the 3 seed beads. I'm going to go back through the bracelet, come out where I would have come out if I didn't have to tie off, and I'm going to continue working. Now at this point you're going to notice that some of your peanut beads are And see, that's what I mean by knots. Some of your peanut beads are going to be kind of stiff with the amount of thread that is being passed through there. Just be careful. Oopsie. There's a knot there. All right, and we've got a couple more to go before we do our ends. Because at this point, you're probably noticing that, yes, while we have this gorgeous bracelet, we have nothing to tie onto. So what we're going to do is after I finish these 3, and we're coming out the bottom, we're going to pick up some seed beads. Probably, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I'm going to see how much that goes over. I'm thinking maybe 7 will probably do it. Because what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to figure out how many I need to make a little pyramid here with a loop. So what it's going to be is I'm going to have this here. That's about center. So 7 beads to the center. I'm now going to pick up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 additional ones. Okay. And instead of, so now I have 14 on there. So that would go all the way across. So that would work. But what I want to do is I want to do 2, 4, 6, and I'm going to come back through the 7th bead, making a little loop there. And actually that's too small. I think we need to do more because that's where we're going to be clasping on to the, that's going to be our loop for the clasp. So I'm going to pick up, so I picked up 7. I'm going to do 8, 9, 10, 11, and I'm going to count 7 here. So 1, 2, 3, oops, 2, 4, 6, 7. And actually, I'm going to go back through, crap, I just lost my 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm just going to pass through a couple to start because I want to make this a round loop, I think. I think that'll look better than a pointy loop. So, and I'm going to have to slide this down as close to these beads as I can. And now I'm just going to reinforce this by going back through everything. And so it moved, and that's fine. I will show you how to get it back to, you just have to pull on it like this until it's close to the, edge, and then you just have to continue to pull and continue to pull, and we'll go back through that last bead. And continue to pull, and now we should be pretty close to the, there we go, and just give it a tug, And so now I've got my loop. I'm now going to pick up 7 additional. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm coming out of this top part. I'm going to go back through this bottom and go back up through. And so now we have a loop for hooking onto our end. Now, at this point, I'm coming out of here. I'm going to pick up 3 seed beads. So 1, 2, 3. Oops, got an extra one there. 1, 2, 3. And instead of going back through this, I'm now going to just pass through these 3 beads. And now I'm going to pick up 3 more and pass through these 3 beads. Before I finish passing, I am going to weave in this end. I'm going to see if I have another needle that I can use real quick, rather than take my thread off. There we go. That's on. Not very well, but it's on. I'm going to pass this through. And I'm going to come back through, I think. Well, we'll go back. I'll go back through there. And then come back down. And then we can cut this off. All right, so now I'm going to continue on with my 3. And basically continue going down until I have everything done. I'm going to finish up. I'll meet you back at this end. Okay, guys, so I finished my side, and it's looking really good. I'm really liking the way that's coming out. So now we've got to do the end on this side. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to find a lobster claw that's a light gold to match the gold for the beads that we're using. The gold that came with the kit. You know, looking at it, it's a really bright gold, and I don't think that'll match, but this one will. So what we're going to do is, all we're going to do is take our 7 seed beads. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I've got 7 seed beads. 2, 4, 5. I don't like that one. It's too thin. 6 and 7. All right, so I've got my 7 seed beads. And I'm going to pick up my lobster claw. So I'm just going to pass the needle through. And then I'm going to pick up 7 more seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to pass back through the top bead and pull tight. Now to reinforce this, we are going to go back through those 7. And that's why I loosened it up, because I needed to see where my first bead was. But we can pull that tight. Ultimately, you want 2 to 3 passes. I'm going to do 2 just because it's getting really tight in those. I may do 3 just because it's not tight enough for me. What is going on there? Oops, there we go. As you can see, I'm struggling to get the needle through. So, but there is my second pass. And here's pass number 3. So I'm going to do it 3 times. It's always good to do it a minimum of 3, especially on anything that's going to be taking some force of, you know, weight of holding it on. All right, so now I'm just going to continue on. I'm going to pick up, I may pick up an additional seed bead here because it looks like there's a big gap there. I'm going to try 4 and see if 4 is enough. And if 4 is not enough, then 4 should be enough. Then we could add a 5th one. There we go. So that looks good. And I'm just going to continue on, and I will meet you back when we get to the end. Okay, guys, so I'm up to the spot where I just have to add my last 3 seed beads. And so what we're going to do is we are going to reinforce, again, this side. So I'm going to go back through, if I can get my needle through all of my seed beads. And I'm just going to go back through and reinforce this end because I only did this twice. And so I want to make sure that I can get up through. And so I'm just passing back through all of my beads in my little loop. And this is not going to be easy getting the needle in, because if you did this tight, it's going to be tricky. So I can get through 3 there. One there. So as you can see, I'm having a hard time getting back through because there's tight and there's already 2 threads. And with the wildfire, because this is quite strong, your reinforcement doesn't have to be super reinforced. All right, I'm coming out of there. I'm going to pull nice and tight, and then I'm going to go back through those, and then I am going to, if I don't snag thread, I'm going to go back through all of the seed beads, at least for a little ways. Because again, this is going to reinforce these seed beads. It's going to also straighten them out a little more. You'll notice once I do this, let me get this tightened up. and pull that. You'll notice when I start to do that, it starts to clean up the beads a little bit. They're not as wonky as this side. So we're going to go and we're going to do that all the way down. Ooh, I can't get in there. There we go. Nope. Come on. I'm trying to get into multiple beads at the same time. It just makes it easier rather than trying to do one or two at a time. Probably doesn't help that my needle's a little bit curved. And it's a little bit curved because of working with bead embroidery. I tend to bend the needles. All right, so now we are back up to this end. And even though we've reinforced this 3 times, we're just going to go back through because we're going to go down the other side if I don't knot up my thread. And I know my fingers are in the way on this. Sorry, guys. Oops. And now we're going to go back down this side. And as you can see, this side looks good. This side's still kind of wonky. So again, just doing it, reinforcing it is going to make it smoother. It's going to make it flatter. So I'm just going in through all of these beads, trying to get as many as I can at once. Oops, sorry about that. Hit the camera mount. And we're almost down to the other side, and it's getting stiff in some of these seed beads, but I want everything reinforced. Because as you can see here, it's definitely wonky right there. And that's probably where we started. All right, good. All right, now that we are up to the last edge, I see a spot here that looks like it could use another seed bead. I'm going to add one more just because I don't like seeing white space. And then I'm just going to go back in, and then it should be fine. It might stick out a little bit, but it'll be okay. You will have to figure out which side is your top and which side is your bottom. I am going to go back. Actually, I'm going to go back down one. Well, no, that's fine. I'm just going to put a knot here in between these two seed beads on the thread. So I just tied a little knot, and I'm just going to pull it and make sure it goes between the two seed beads. And then I'm going to go through a few seed beads. I'm going to tie another knot right near my loop here. And then I'm going to skip the loop. I'm going to go back through. So I'm skipping any of these beads in the loop, and I'm going to go back through this bead right here, because that's the that's where it meets up. I'm going to tie one more knot. And then I'm going to pass my thread through several more seed beads down this side. And then I'm going to cut off. And we are done. So, looking at this, you're going to see that you've got a front and a back. The back, you're probably going to see more threads than the front. And it's going to be a very tight cuff-like bracelet meant for, you know, a smaller wrist, a kid. Optionally, you could take and put a jump ring on there if you wanted. You could have additional ones of these. I did 31, but you could have additional ones. I'm just doing 31. But anyways, that is the peanut bead bracelet using the curated bead box. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.